The history of the Naval Academy extends as far back as 1800, when President John Adams made the first recommendation to Congress for the founding of a naval school. Until the founding of a naval academy, midshipmen were supposed to be educated by a schoolmaster on board ship. In 1839, progress was made when a naval school was established at the Philadelphia Naval Asylum. It was not until the appointment of George Bancroft by President James K. Polk as Secretary of the Navy that the Naval Academy came into existence. Inquiry revealed the existence of an obsolete Army post named Fort Severn at Annapolis, Maryland, where the Severn River flows into the Chesapeake Bay. The transfer of Fort Severn to the Navy was officially effected on August 15, 1845. The first superintendent was Commander Franklin Buchanan, assuming command on September 3, 1845. In August 1986, Rear Admiral Ronald F. Marriott, class of 1957, became the 52nd Superintendent of the United States Naval Academy.
of 1987, please rise. Ladies and gentlemen, the faculty of the United States Naval Academy. Leading the procession is the Grand Marshal, Professor Theodore J. Benak. Faculty appear at today's commissioning exercises in the traditional academic regalia to which they are entitled by virtue of the degrees they hold. Originally, academic costumes were simply the black clerical robe and hood worn by members of the religious orders that established the first European universities. As many universities became secular centers of intellectual inquiry, the design and symbolism of the regalia changed. Today, the cap and gown are trimmed to identify the wearer's academic degree. The color on the edges of the hood indicates the field of study, and the colors of the university from which the degree was granted are displayed in the hood's center. Examples of the standard color code represented among the Naval Academy faculty are economics, copper; education, light blue; engineering, orange; library science, lemon; philosophy, dark blue; physical education, sage green; and science, golden yellow. We are proud of our outstanding faculty, and I invite you to join me in recognizing them. Class of 1987, seats. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise.
Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Carlisle A.H. Trost, Chief of Naval Operations; Lieutenant General C.D. Dean, Chief of Staff, Headquarters, Marine Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, the singing of our national anthem will be led by Midshipman First Class Robert L. Calhoun, Jr. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the invocation by Chaplain Byron Holderby, United States Navy.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, it has been said that they who will not look ahead look behind with a tear in their eye. Dear God, there will be no tears today, for before you are men and women who for 4 years have worked and studied, always with this moment in sight. Men and women who think of yesterday without regret and tomorrow without fear. These, dear God, are the class of 1987, now ready and qualified to be graduates of the United States Naval Academy, and we present them to you for your blessing. There are among us, Father, others for whom we pray. Mothers and fathers filled with pride, professors and officers satisfied that their efforts and commitment have produced the excellence demanded by the nation of its military leaders. Citizens here today and throughout the country whose hope for peace resides in the skill, the judgment, the courage, the faithfulness, the heart of these new leaders. And those not present today who have given the full measure of devotion, may they be honored this moment in your kingdom. We pray for the class of 1987. America calls them now, commissions and empowers them with this very special trust, authority, and responsibility. Keep them from harm, sustain them in their bravery and their joy, uphold them as they promote justice and protect the freedoms that you would want for your human family. As they rejoice in this moment, so may they find pleasure in the profession they have chosen, and reward as they bring to it the training they have met and mastered these last 4 years. These graduates before you, the finest of your sons and daughters, the class of 1987. Amen.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the Superintendent of the United States Naval Academy, Rear Admiral Ronald F. Marriott, United States Navy.
Vice President Bush, Secretary Webb, Admiral Trost, General Dean, parents and friends, Brigade of Midshipmen, and most especially the members of the class of '87. Welcome to the 1987 graduation and commissioning ceremony. I suspect that some of you in the class of '87, back when you applied for admission, and at times as midshipmen, wondered if you would ever reach this great milestone. I will admit that 30 years ago, when I sat where you sit today, I never dreamed that someday I would have the privilege to address a graduating class of midshipmen as superintendent. Chances are 30 years from today, one of you will be standing here addressing the class of 2017. If that happens, I know you will be able to tell them how much you have enjoyed your 30 years of naval service, as I certainly have. Today is your last day as midshipmen and your first as junior officers in the Navy and Marine Corps. Over the past 4 years, you have been well prepared to take your place in the fleet. Thanks to a very dedicated staff and faculty here at the Naval Academy, the fleet sailors and Marines who took you under their wings during summer training, the tremendous support of the local community, including thousands of Annapolitans who invited you into their homes and gave you a home away from home, and your parents who gave you the love and encouragement which got you here in the first place and then helped to keep you here through 4 very tough years. Having studied, trained, and lived in a totally military environment for 4 years, you will have a leg up on your peers being commissioned this spring at OCS and in colleges and universities around the country. Take advantage of this. Hit the decks running in your advanced training and in your first assignment. Always strive to do your very best, and you will never have regrets later. Stay true to the mission and spirit of the Naval Academy, improving yourselves mentally, morally, and physically. When you entered the Naval Academy 4 years ago, everyone said you were the cream of the crop, and you probably believed it. In fact, 95% of you were in the top 2/5 of your high school classes. You averaged 1239 on your scholastic aptitude tests, and nearly all of you were leaders in athletics and extracurricular activities in high school. I am sure you all stood tall, proud, and reasonably confident when you raised your right hands to become midshipmen on July 6, 1983. Then came plebe summer, meal calls and marching, calculus, chemistry, wires and cables, the tower jump, and the 40-year swim. Many of you got your first C grades, some even worse than that. You probably had your self-confidence shaken a little bit, more than once, I would say, and some of you have struggled to get here today. But let me tell you, even if you're not at the top 10% of the class today, as you were graduating from high school some 4 years ago, you are the cream of the crop. You are the cream of the crop. You have successfully completed one of the most demanding educational programs in the world. You have tested yourself in many ways and come out winners. You have earned a distinction as a Naval Academy graduate, respected across the country in every community and every field of endeavor. When you leave here today, you all are #1 in my book. I salute you, class of '87, and I wish you fair winds, smooth sailing, and following seas. And now it is my distinct honor to introduce someone who threw his hat in the air 19 years ago, a Naval Academy graduate who did hit the decks running and has not stopped. He has distinguished himself as a Marine Corps officer, a combat leader, an attorney, a writer, and a senior public servant. He is an example to us, indeed to all Americans, of courage, integrity, loyalty, and determination. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in a warm welcome for the Secretary of the Navy, the Honorable James H. Webb.
I can tell you, Admiral Marriott, as one who got more than his share of C grades as a midshipman, that it's nothing to be ashamed of. Even those of you who had C's in conduct, as I did first class year. I'm proud of all of you. I mean that. I know that this day brings mixed emotions for those of us who love the naval service and the strong, courageous sailors who spend so much of their lives at sea. On the one hand, it's a day of triumph because all of you are going to join the operating forces, bringing the fleet your energy and your youthful vision. We need you, and we welcome you. On the other, we cannot escape the sadness brought on by the recent loss of so many of our shipmates in a faraway place from hostile fire of a nature that escapes the bounds of our understanding. This is the same paradox that attended the graduation ceremonies during my own time at the Naval Academy. The night the class of 1967 graduated, the USS Liberty was attacked in the Mediterranean, leaving 34 crew members dead. The night before my own class graduated, in 1968, Robert Kennedy was assassinated. And throughout those years, battles raged in Vietnam as we celebrated June Week. I say this because today is a day that you have earned, one that you deserve to celebrate, and you should not feel self-conscious in doing so despite the recent tragedy. There is a time for grieving, and we will remember the sacrifices of those aboard the Star. But you take nothing away from the greatness of that sacrifice by having the courage to celebrate your own accomplishments today. Your speaker today is a man who is as well qualified as anyone in this country to appreciate the contradictions inherent in that paradox. There are many ways to judge a leader. I would suggest to you that the most accurate way is to examine the credibility of a person's acts, to match an individual's words against the events in his or her life that produced the grist for wisdom and for mature logic. Against this standard, there are precious few Americans, and fewer still in the government, who can speak with the credibility of our Vice President. George Herbert Walker Bush is a man who, at your age, shared the sense of duty and country that you embrace today. Upon graduation from high school in 1942, he joined the Navy and became a pilot at the age of 18. For more than 2 years, he served as a carrier pilot in the Pacific, in a squadron where more than half the original pilots were lost during the war. He accumulated more than 1,000 flight hours, made 126 carrier landings, flew 58 combat missions. He had to be rescued from the sea twice, first after ditching an aircraft due to engine failure, and then after being shot down by the Japanese while on a bombing run in the Bonin Islands. He was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross, several air medals. This was your peer, 45 years removed, a steady-handed pilot filled with the love of country and the daring that all of you embrace and respect. Our Vice President has filled the intervening years with great accomplishment. As a student who won 5 Beta Kappa honors at Yale, as a pioneering businessman in the field of offshore drilling equipment, as a congressman, as the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, as the chairman of the Republican National Committee, as the chief of the U.S. Liaison Office in the People's Republic of China, and significantly, as the leader who restored morale and efficiency while director of the CIA during a very troubled period. As all of you know, the Naval Service is a way of life that requires that its leaders be measured not simply by words spoken from a prepared text, but by accomplishment in demanding environments. And by our standards, this is a leader. Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all very, very much. Mr. Secretary, please. Secretary Webb, thank you, sir, for that wonderful introduction at this place you love so much. Coming from a man who knows these grounds and knew them as a midshipman, a man who served his men, his corps, his nation very, very well in combat, and a man now chosen by the President to lead our naval service. This kindness today, sir, doubles the honor that I feel in participating in today's celebration. And celebration it is, albeit a muted one, as I stand here sharing with these young men and women, the Marine and Naval officers of the class of 1987, your proud families, your closest friends, this very special moment I ask you to remember those brave souls, those present and far away, whose lives are dedicated to service. Those who serve bravely in foreign lands, off distant shores, so that we might live in peace, secure in the midst of our families, peaceful communities, enriched by the blessings that we take for granted every single day of our lives. And in sorrow, we recognize our sons, those men lost aboard the USS Stark. In their honor, the President ordered that the nation's flags fly at half-mast, as befits a nation of peace, not so much in anger as in anguish. We grieve with their families and join with the President in offering whatever comfort we can. But we don't despair, certainly not here today.
Instead, on these hallowed grounds, we celebrate a ritual of passage, a routine and regular as the coming of spring, and in many ways is symbolic. For even as we stand in the shadow of tragedy in the Persian Gulf, we gather to celebrate the birth of new life, the introduction of a new class to a life of duty, honor, and service. And when in a few minutes, the class of 1987 takes an oath to defend the Constitution, they will complete a difficult trial, part ordeal, and certainly part joy. And almost alone, the Academy's graduates can boast or lament, I survived my education. And from the first bleak summer, a new attitude is forged, tempered under the sympathetic gaze of the upperclassmen and the relaxed routine of Captain Shook. The midshipmen develop in subtle ways, forever distinguishing them from their civilian peers. And it's a total commitment. Once committed, you are ready to accept the country's most precious trust, responsibility for the safety of her people and lives, the lands that we hold dear, entrusted with the means to protect America, protect her allies from all who seek to bring us harm. And that remarkable level of commitment inspired the fatally wounded Captain Lawrence to order his men, tell the men to fire faster and not give up the ship. Fight her till she sinks. Commitment and tradition. They prepare our young lieutenants and ensigns to stand and fight the fires, to fight the fear, to save their ship, to be she Captain Lawrence's frigate Chesapeake in 1813, or the brave Stark this week. You know, the Secretary generously referred to my time in the Navy, and I'm as proud of my time there as I am of anything in my life. For me, the Navy wasn't an education in glory, nor do I remember the involuntary heroics that cost the United States government 2 airplanes. On the contrary, I came away from those years with the lesson that the most underrated value in life, and one of the most important, is steadiness. The training and hard work, day after day, the self-discipline it takes to do your job through those undramatic hours, so that when the going suddenly gets tough, you are prepared. And all that training and self-dedication, self-discipline pay off. In later years, I found that politics isn't so different, nor is the conduct of this nation's affairs in the world. In foreign policy, there is a place for brilliant concept and strategies and tactics, but these ideas can fail if they aren't carried out by people who know who they are, know what they want, know how to persevere,
how to stand up under pressure. This kind of steadiness, courage, and character are the real key to success in any serious endeavor. Democratic nations, we all know, don't relish or seek confrontation or conflict, nor are we interested in power over others. Our love of peace is not a quality to be ashamed of. Rather, it's a blessed result of our democratic values and our fundamental commitment to freedom. But as it happens, we face an adversary that considers our decency and democratic values as weakness. And to them, struggle and violence and power over others, is vital to success. The modern Soviet regime has been ideologically driven to expand its global reach, not shrinking from the use or threat of force. And there are some who believe that in this contest between East and West, the West is likely to give way and to lose. And they expect the democracies to grow tired of the necessary sacrifice and ultimately to give way, step by step, to the political or military drive of the totalitarians. Those doubters have little confidence in our will, in our perseverance. And yet anyone who looks back over the last 40 years will see that we have stood our ground. We have maintained our alliances, our defenses, our economic preeminence, and above all, we have kept the peace. And nevertheless, it's true that we've never shaken off a certain ambivalence about long-term policy towards our adversaries. Sometimes we hear a shrill call for military superiority, and at other times we hear the sirens call for unilateral concession. And this oscillation is itself part of our difficulty. We need a steady course, a realistic course that advances our purposes and offers long-term hope for a more secure world. I think we can do better. And over the course of this administration we followed a steady approach that I can summarize as realism, strength, and dialogue. First, realism. We start from the fact that we disagree with the Soviets on virtually every question of how human beings should govern themselves. We disagree about the proper relationship between the citizen and the state. And even on the most basic question of one's relationship to God, we disagree. And what's more, that moral conflict may indeed be irreconcilable. There are some signs of change in the Soviet Union, but we shouldn't kid ourselves into thinking that the next Soviet revolution is just around the corner. It isn't. The Communist Party, the KGB, and the Soviet Army will see to that. And there's little we can do to promote internal change over there. We can try to affect their foreign policy by resisting aggressiveness, showing that such policies don't work. We can expand our contacts and exchanges with the Soviet people. We can push always for human rights. But most likely, we're in for a prolonged period of competition with the state that has two great and related strengths: immense military power and the will to accumulate still more military power. And it's our responsibility and it's in our interest to see that the competition remains peaceful. And in the long run, if we maintain our defenses and our alliances and deter war and make the necessary sacrifices, I believe we can win this peaceful competition. This isn't wishful thinking. It's a realistic recognition of the inherent superiority of our system in unleashing human talent and meeting human needs. And this does lead us, though, to the necessity of dialogue. We need to talk to the Soviets. This is a nuclear age, which means it's simply not sane to sit in a stony silence at bomb's length from powerful adversaries. But how do we talk to the Soviets? What do we talk about? If the Soviets are a committed adversary, and I expect we all agree they are, how can we trust them? If the East-West conflict is so dangerous, and it is, we owe it to our peoples to make every effort to resolve practical problems where possible, or to seek measures that might reduce the risk of military confrontation. Because, I repeat, if the competition remains peaceful, the West has many advantages. This is where the third factor, strength, comes in. We're not talking here about a military capability alone. Economic and political efforts also count. For instance, in the next decade, I anticipate that the Soviets will increase their unwelcome attention to the third world. That's an area where our fundamental values of liberty and generosity, as well as our dynamic economic system, can make us formidable competitors. And still, if we ignore the crucial factor of power and security, no other capacities or skills of ours can protect us. Fortunately, in the past 6 years, during which we have rebuilt our military strength, we see that we've deterred not only conflict with the Soviets, but further Soviet expansion as well. We found a principle of action that works, and it'll continue to work, I might add, if we settle on a consistent strategy for an issue that hangs over all the others, and that's the issue of nuclear weapons. Never forget that the Soviets and Americans proceed from very different principles in this area as in others. The awful prospect of nuclear war is indeed as threatening to the Soviet people as it is to us. And yet at the same time, Soviet leaders have tried to use the Western public's understandable anxieties about nuclear weapons to undermine the defense strategies of the West, the West's will to resist Soviet political and military pressures. In reality, the biggest danger we have faced is not nuclear war, but nuclear blackmail. And we see exactly the same old Soviet strategy, the effort to delegitimize the West's nuclear deterrence policies in the supposedly new thinking of this new Soviet regime. And so we have a fundamental question to answer. Will we, can we continue to rely on nuclear weapons as the foundation of our deterrence capacity? And the President's answer to that question is no. We shouldn't continue our present degree of reliance on nuclear weapons if there's an alternative. But there is such an alternative, maybe not in the short term, but in the long term. SDI will be, in my view, an effective deterrent. And the approach I favor is to shift away from total reliance on offensive retaliation toward greater reliance on strategic defenses. And our vigorous SDI program is helping us answer the questions that we must have answered before we can make such a shift. Isn't it better in this nuclear age as we move forward to put weapons at risk, not people? There isn't a moral underpinning to SDI in this nuclear age. While we don't yet have all the answers, we must persist in our efforts. We must resist the anti-intellectual temptation to cut off defense and cut off research, development, and testing that'll give us those answers. And as I look to the future, it is clear that we must continue our serious and determined efforts for arms reductions. And while we're at it, for the well-being of not just the class of '87, but of the sons and daughters to follow, Let's vow as a nation to find a way, in a verifiable sense, to ban all chemical weapons. To help lessen the danger of nuclear war, we've been trying since 1982 to reduce the instability represented by the Soviet ICBMs, those heavy ICBMs, destabilizing weapons. And the President has repeatedly proposed a verifiable 50% reduction in strategic weapons, a proposal that all Americans can endorse with pride. And we and the Soviets have made real progress toward an agreement along those lines. And more immediately, we may be on a course to eliminating an entire class of medium-range nuclear weapons. And until these efforts bear fruit, there are near-term steps that we can take to enhance the stability of the nuclear balance. For one thing, our strategic modernization program has that objective. A special feature is to give our land-based missile systems the mobility and the survivability that Navy systems have long enjoyed. Thus, continued support for rail mobility of the MX and a continued commitment to mobile small ICBM are essential. And second, the Western Alliance has always understood that strengthened conventional forces are a way to reinforce deterrence while reducing the reliance of nuclear weapons. It's easy to say these things to officers of the United States Navy who know well the value of steadiness and perseverance and who know what international security really depends on. All commencement speakers say things like, the future lies before you, or I'm optimistic about the future. Well, seeing all of you sitting out here, I do feel confident. I feel very confident about this country's ability to meet the challenge. And I know that the American people want an effective foreign policy. They demand strong leadership, American leadership in the world, to advance the cause of freedom and to keep the peace. And they don't want, and they will not accept, incoherence, paralysis, or weakness. We Americans are not now, and we never have been, a timid people. The country is healthy, it's vibrant, and it's confident. In the class of 1987, you are a new generation, and you can help continue the rebuilding of American strength in pride and world leadership. I salute each and every one of you from the bottom of a very grateful heart. Well done.
The Academic Dean of the United States Naval Academy, Dr. Carl A. Lamb. Candidates, please rise. Admiral Merritt, on behalf of the faculty of the United States Naval Academy, I present these candidates for the baccalaureate degree. I recommend that this degree be conferred upon them.
As you have successfully completed your course of study at the United States Naval Academy and have been recommended by the academic board, I, the superintendent, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Congress of the United States, do hereby confer upon each of you the baccalaureate degree designated on your diploma, with all rights and privileges thereunto pertaining. Congratulations.
class of 1987 is honored to have among its members a Rhodes Scholar and a Marshall Scholar. With the Rhodes Scholar, Midshipman Michael B. Gaffney, please rise. With the Marshall Scholar, Midshipman Christopher S. Calhoun, please rise. You'll both be congratulated on your exceptional academic achievement. Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you of an important tradition. The parents and friends of each graduate are invited to stand when the graduate's name is called, if you aren't already standing. That gives you a chance to recognize their solidarity with your graduate. Next, I'd like to draw your attention to your graduation program. There's a symbol next to names on the program that looks rather like a sword, and that is for the designated faculty graduates. These, ladies and gentlemen, have received letters from the superintendent inviting them to return to the Naval Academy as military members of the faculty after completing graduate study in their chosen fields. Thus, we expect to renew the faculty of the Naval Academy in years to come. On page 4 of your program is a listing of the advanced programs that are open to the class of 87. The list is headed by the Trident Scholars. Trident Scholars have completed independent research projects during their first class year in place of classes which they have already validated or gotten credit for because they are that much ahead of their regular program. Students in the Voluntary Graduate Education Program, or FEJAP, have begun graduate study this year and will complete master's degrees by December. Students selected for the Olmsted Foundation Scholarship and the various civilian university scholarships will complete graduate study before the regular fleet assignment. Those designated for the Navy or Marine Corps PERC Scholarship Program will enter graduate study after an initial tour of fleet duty. On page 7 of your program, the names of the midshipmen graduating with distinction are listed in order of merit. Other graduates will be awarded their diplomas in alphabetical order by company. The Vice President will present diplomas to graduates with distinction. Those midshipmen graduating with distinction, please rise. Midshipman Christopher Scott Calhoun stands first in the class. John R.H. Gilstad. Mr. Gilstad is an Olmsted Scholar and will attend medical school. Deborah D. Klatt. Ms. Klatt has been a Trident Scholar and will undertake graduate study at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. Kevin M. Potts. Mr. Potts is a Marine Corps PERC Scholar. Ms. Culbertson is a Trident Scholar. Mark H. Dalton. Danny A. Nygaard. Paul A. Burkett. Burkett is an Olmsted Scholar. George A. Lipscomb. Mr. Lipscomb is attending graduate school at the University of Michigan. Scott D. Johnson. Michael D. Gaffney, already introduced. Don M. Demento. Mr. Demento is an Olmsted Scholar and will undertake graduate studies at Scripps Institution of Oceanography. Ryan E. Noyes. study at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography. John B. Metzger. Mr. Metzger is a Marine Corps Berg Scholar. Charles P. Ferguson II. Mr. Ferguson is a Trident Scholar. Gregory A. Miller. John E. Ward. Thomas A. Mercer, Jr. They're taking graduate study at the University of Maryland. John P. Mellor. Mr. Mellor is a Trident Scholar. Robert P. Pignataro. Wendy I. Sullivan. Mark T. Schreiber. Mark R. Broskowitz. Mary E. Green. Michael F. Finch. Mr. Finch has been a Trident Scholar and will be an Olmsted Scholar. Andrew C. Lennon. Mr. Lennon is completing graduate study at George Washington University. Michael A. Tobin. Mr. Tobin is completing graduate study at Georgetown University. Eric C. Holloway. Mr. Holloway wanted to take graduate studies at the University of California at Berkeley. Mark A. Gardner, going to graduate study at Georgetown University. Daniel G. Schaefer. John D. O'Boyle. Scott M. Wolf. Mr. Wolf will be a Navy Berg Scholar. Ryan C. Klein. Mr. Klein will be a Marine Corps Berg Scholar. Mark S. Brown. Mr. Brown will be a Marine Corps Berg Scholar. Roger J. Lamardes, Jr. Daniel B. Hendrickson. James M. Baker, completing graduate studies at the University of Maryland. Henry A. Lively. Carl D. Grant, Marine Corps Berg Scholar. John C. Wooster, an Olmsted Scholar. Dolores M. Dorset, an Olmsted Scholar. Kurt C. Hartman, completing graduate study at Georgetown University. John M. Watson. Mark G. Linford. Michael E. Meade. Stephen H. Tackett, Berg Scholar, Navy Berg Scholar. Robert I. Douglas. Mr. Douglas will take the graduate study at the University of Michigan. David A. Tibbett. Sally M. Moreau. Robert H. Morrell. Jeffrey R. Evers, a Navy Berg Scholar. John S. Lewis. Kent L. Newbelacker. Samuel C. Baker. Guy Braden. Andrew B. Bucket for Penn University, Michigan, graduate study. Douglas J. Henson, Olmsted Scholar, has to undertake graduate study at Syracuse University. Michael C. Clark. Mr. Clark is a graduate scholar and will be a Navy Bird Scholar. Robert N. Smith, Navy Bird Scholar. David A. Robinson, that's Paul Robinson. Robinson, graduate scholar, will be a Marine Corps Bird Scholar. Thomas W. Casey. Scott P. McFarland, Navy Bird Scholar. Ross C. Beacon. Brian C. McCullough. John C. Wilson, Navy Bird Scholar. Kevin C. Hill. Thomas A. Marzek. Mr. Marzek has been a Thomas E. Adams. Timothy J. Ryman. James E. Bouchard. John K. Green, Jr. Mr. Green is a Navy Bird Scholar. Albert J. Damaris. Joseph W. Piante, Olmsted Scholar. Frederick W. Daw, Navy Bird Scholar. Thomas F. Van Atta. Gary E. Carson, Marine Corps Bird Scholar. John T. Walters II. James A. Henderson, and the graduate study at Georgetown University. Alton H. Coleman III. Gregory B. Kantawi, an Olmsted Scholar. Paul A. Dupre. David R. Lester. Mary E. Balch. Casey P. Ostroff. Drew T. Watson. Mark D. Rufus. Ben D. Mickelson. Edward D. Halpin. Douglas M. Hines. Michael J. Gray. Renaud E. Stauber. Mr. Stauber is an Olmsted Scholar. Michael C. Sopko. Mr. Sopko is an Olmsted Scholar. Jeffrey T. Jennings. Kevin J. Maroney. Mr. Maroney is a Marine Corps Bird Scholar. Ryan N. Burgos. Robert L. Calhoun, Jr. Michael J. Poltari. Matthew D. Sorensen. Robert A. Lyon. and the Commandant of Midshipmen will present the remaining diplomas. Odd-numbered companies will receive their diplomas from my left, and even-numbers companies from my right.
From the first company, Mark A. Belcher.
From the second company, David T. Adesani.
Michael W. Brandenburg.
James W. Bennett.
Nicholas J. Cipriano III.
Roger E. Brill.
Kevin M. Coyne.
Andrew P. Callahan.
Jeffrey G. DeBeclaire.
John W. Chandler.
Richard E. Ewing.
Timothy J. Corkery.
Anthony J. Ferrari.
Timothy J. Corrigan.
Evaristo Gonzalez.
Thomas E. Ennis.
Paul E. Gross.
James P. Ladwood.
Ernest A. Parker.
Richard M. Levins.
Larry G. Oshauer.
Claude William R. Lim.
Jeffrey S. Jacoby.
Stephen A. Malone.
John C. Kennedy III.
Heidi J. Moser.
Joseph P. Grensevich.
Sunita L. Pandya.
Jeffrey Y. McGarry.
Joe M. Sanchez.
James T. Monroe.
Sean M. Sharp.
Eric N. Dereka.
David E. Sewell.
John M. Stringfellow.
Keith A. Spencer.
Patrick W. Tierney.
Jeffrey A. Thompson.
John A. Chagani, Jr.
Robert J. Turner.
Darren L. Turner.
Wayne D. Turner.
Jerry D. Tyner.
Paul A. Walker.
Thomas B. Welch.
Michael J. Williams.
Dave J. White.
From the Color Company, Kristen F. Bond.
Timothy J. White.
Keith B. Manick.
From the third company, Christopher B. Arias.
Gregory E. Dawson.
David A. Brown.
David A. DeMarsh.
David L. Burnham, Jr.
Letitia A. Dorr.
Jeffrey P. Paparosi.
James J. Duke Jr.
Scott A. Preston.
Russell W. Emons Jr.
John J. Deneen.
David P. Bluebird.
Sean E. Dennis.
George F. Ganal.
Jeffrey S. Earl.
Wesley S. Huey.
Matthew L. Albert W. Hawkins.
David B. Oath.
Patrick J. Moser, Jr.
George J. Peterson.
Arturo C. Martinez.
Robert N. Plant.
William P. Kinley.
Luis J. Pilar.
Dominic J. Paoli.
Dennis P. Richards, Jr.
John L. Makita.
Philip G. Chavez.
Paul E. Nesbitt.
Suzanne Skelly.
Paul C. Rahill.
Joe L. Badger.
Juan C. Rodriguez.
Michael G. Wimet.
Eric M. Schulin.
From the 6th Company, Paul C. Ananson.
David A. Seawright.
Stephen A. Clark.
Todd R. Stigurda.
David N. Coron.
Ken R. Van Horn.
Robert E. Coleman.
Kevin F. White.
Joseph P. DiPaolo Jr.
Earl K. Wilson.
Jonathan B. Hensley.
From the 5th Company, David D. Badger.
John C. Hippie.
Ralph J. Ellen.
Matthew S. Kirk.
John A. Garner.
Michael S. Mangan.
Paul B. Bevins.
Trent D. Nichols.
William R. Campbell.
Ronald E. Pratt Jr.
Stephen M. Clark.
Al W. Sandbar.
Gregory B. Cotton.
Ty A. Scheiber.
Charles E. Leon.
Patrick O. Shea.
Amy L. Donovan.
Terry R. Tackett.
John F. Benner.
Ben E. Torian.
John W. Fitzwilliam.
William O. Townsend.
Ruben B. Javieres.
Eber L. Ramosek.
Mark D. Hamilton.
Daryl B. Watson.
Julie B. Helmers.
Andrew L. York III.
Scott C. Urbaner.
From the 8th Company, Clifford A. Blumenberg.
William A. Humphreys.
Timothy A. Vaughn.
Peter M. Hudson.
John M. Bramble.
Karen E. Joyner.
Lawrence F. Britt Jr.
Paul G. Mack.
Marshall B. Brown.
Terrence P. Malloy.
Charles E. Catton Jr.
Ralph F. Nelson, Jr.
Demetrius L. Llewellyn.
Anita S. Petty.
John B. Fuller.
Stephen W. Braco.
Patrick J. Gallup Jr.
Joseph R. Rizzo.
Robert F. Hopkins.
Andrew J. Wickerson.
Thaddeus J. Cusiella.
From the 7th Company, Craig M. Burris.
Michelle LaFord.
Glenn S. Campbell.
Leach.
Patricia M. Porcello.
Paul C. Lewis.
Rodrigo M. Dill.
Scott W. Quinn.
Don H. Dreisbach.
Joan M. Reagan.
Thomas P. Bird.
Timothy H. Rayner.
Leslie E. Kirko.
Donald W. Robbins.
Jerry K. Holden.
Kenneth A. Ross.
Linda M. Hunter.
John F. Lejanowski.
James F. Lelio.
Gregory E. Stepanon.
Robert S. McFarland, Jr.
Robin A. Stewart.
James A. McMurtry, Jr.
Stephen M. Siebel.
William R. Boucher.
Christopher K. Thomasy.
Laurie Music.
Roland M. Towers.
Louis E. Ford, II.
John E. Monaco.
Fred E. Redling.
John G. Wilson.
John J. Rivera.
From the 10th Company, J. Scott Alley.
Dana D. Ruby.
Todd M. Allison.
Stephen Ruggiero.
Michael D. Bell.
Jeffrey S. Shirk.
Scott A. Boyer.
Patrick S. Stout.
Joseph C. Buenavista.
Edward C. Sullivan.
Joseph A. Campbell.
Stephen M. Thompson.
Stephen J. Day.
John E. Titus, Jr.
Alexander H. Edwards III.
James A. Walter.
James D. Emmett.
Dwayne A. Walters.
Donald L. Griffin II.
Jason D. Wong.
Darren M. Grover.
From the 9th Company, James H. Beggs.
Brian E. Haley.
David G. Vizalon.
Roger A. Harris.
Jean-Pierre Golat.
James P. Hogan.
David A. Burns.
John L. Jenkins.
Thomas J. Clark.
John F. Lesniak.
George H. Council.
Jeffrey R. Lucas.
Daniel J. Doherty.
Thomas H. Craig.
Anthony J. Fabian.
Edward O. McGee Jr.
Orlando Gotay, Jr.
Thomas A. McKenna.
Edward E. Gutschall.
Dennis C. Milan.
Bernard E. Kerr.
Thomas G. Milton.
David J. Major.
D. A. Sadanaga.
John J. McKenna.
Charles F. Sullivan.
Edward U. Miller.
Peter N. Turner.
John S. Rinkus.
Jeffrey L. Mountain.
Wendell Ross.
Siegfried R. Wolf.
Matthew T. Sampson.
From the 12th Company, Daniel L. Basil.
John B. Slaughter. Christopher I. Upham.
David L. Bragg.
Michael S. Weiner.
William D. Byrd Jr.
Dennis B. White.
Kenneth L. Clark.
Richard M. Whitten.
Robert S. Neal.
From the 11th Company, Matthew S. Bliss.
Paul E. Espinoza.
Alan L. Boyer.
Olin O. Milliard Jr.
John S. Cameron.
David R. Folsom.
Napoleon A. Fayouette III.
Stephen C. Garrett.
James C. Childs.
John D. Harris.
John H. Pickle, Jr.
Philip G. Morrisberger.
Kirkland C. Fletcher.
Guy D. Jackson V.
Mark E. Girardi.
E. Timothy Covanec.
Charles M. Gordon.
Joseph N. Lara.
Bartlett Harwood III.
John H. Loesch.
Bridget Warner.
Douglas R. Masters.
Lee A. Lambert.
John A. Ortez.
Frederick Latrache.
Andrew G. Craig.
John K. Martins.
Jason A. Hughes.
Ned W. Metcalf, Jr.
Michael L. Spanos.
Robert D. Monroe.
John D. Stevenson.
Joseph A. Morales, IV.
Chad O. Van Holten.
David A. Ogden.
David B. Wordman.
Demetrios A. Pappas.
Daniel J. from the 14th Company. Daniel J. Aldridge.
Christopher R. Schenk.
James D. Cook.
David L. Shipman.
Stephen P. Cody.
James G. Schmidt.
Thomas M. Doman.
Jimmy C. Tadlock, Jr.
Jessica D. Gary.
Susan L. Williams.
Andrew L. Gordon.
John W. Wearies.
William B. Hamlet Jr.
Carlos J. Zengotita.
Leland D. Hansen.
From the 13th Company, David M. Minninger.
Paul P. Brown.
Paul D. Bungie.
David W. Hughes.
Nicholas B. Campbell, II.
John T. King Jr.
Sean C. Carroll.
Wallace R. Key.
James J. Collins.
Mark J. Kavar.
George F. Cox, Jr.
Carl C. Liebert III.
Jeffrey C. Prime.
Suzanne E. Massolia.
Craig S. DeLorso.
John D. McKinley.
John C. Dove, Jr.
Nicholas Meyer.
Corliss A. Esparza.
Erica A. Wild.
David
John A. Owens. Walter S. Beatrice III. Herbert Ehrlich. Kennedy A. Snow. Gregory W. Johnson. Stephen A. Swift. Renee Martinez. From the 16th Company, Mary D. Brockway.
Ross P. Mitchell.
Joseph M. Schindler.
Curtis A. Morgan.
Jason D. Garrett.
John G. Rowan.
Martin D. Gibson.
Jason A. Scooby.
John E. Hotford.
Joseph B. Stolbein.
Matthew R. Howe.
Daniel R. Stonecker.
Eric A. Toy.
Dale F. Spisak.
John R. Larico.
Anthony M. Toll.
Michael R. Martin.
From the 15th Company, David J. Adams.
Douglas E. Mason.
Robert B. Donahue.
William D. Newton Jr.
John T. Lansinger Jr.
John C. Ortega.
Mark M. Gibley.
Brandon A. Pickle.
Michael M. Dyer.
Kenneth J. Ravel.
John D. Harris.
Michael Ryan.
Wilbur B. Hart, Jr.
Joe W. Chen.
Anthony K. Hollister.
Christopher B. Smith.
Robert M. Hoskins, Jr.
Frederick W. Smith.
Christine M. Keller.
Craig S. Fuller.
John S. Kyle.
William P. Soper.
Charles D. Lane.
John C. Sabanko.
Joseph C. Lavetta Jr.
Sean P. Sullivan.
Matthew A. Ludwig.
Trav A. Teasy.
Carrie M. Manhurst.
Robert J. Wayman.
Antonio R. Martinez.
From the 18th Company, Anthony J. Ariano.
Mary A. Miles.
Scott C. Vivo.
Hugh E. Mills, Jr.
Sean C. Blockberger.
James L. Money.
Joyce M. Brackett.
Randall C. Packard.
Thomas P. Brayson.
Stephen J. Francesca.
Gregory S. Coyle.
Brian E. Patton.
Raymond E. Cook.
Arthur S. Penny.
Bradford J. Escondido.
John W. Lovetsky.
Gregory A. Gephardt.
Jeffrey E. Rayburn.
Stephen M. Gillespie.
William Riley, Jr.
David A. Amella II.
Kimberly S. Russ.
Ronald L. Hicks Jr.
Dan S. Schindler.
Matthew B. Moran.
Roger C. Stanton.
Lance L. McCoy.
From the 17th Company, Michael D. Anderson.
Leonard Laporta Jr.
Rudolph M. Carlson, III.
Leslie J. Martin.
Timothy M. Dean.
James D. McGee.
John P. Feeney, Jr.
Thomas S. Miller.
Eric G. Holcomb.
John D. Peters.
Michael M. Arisberg.
Daniel K. Schill.
Paul E. Huxell.
David G. Smith.
Michael E. Keller.
Jennifer A. Smith.
Anthony J. Simmons.
Larry W. Smith.
William A. Lucas.
Edward L. Evans II.
Thomas J. Lunefeld.
Thomas J. Coleman.
Scott W. Malloy.
From Lithuania, Richard A. Davis.
Gregory L. Maziello.
Daniel J. Martin.
Craig R. Rochelle.
Sean C. Perry.
Michael A. Murillo.
James H. Dix.
Anthony W. Crato.
Kenneth F. Dunn.
James D. Ratcliffe.
Greg R. Ellis.
Gregory J. Sargent.
Scott E. Erdelands.
Jose R. Shores.
Kenneth L. Pratt Jr.
Benjamin S. Scholl.
Jeffrey P. Griffin.
Robert L. Swickley.
Ronald J. Harris.
Philip S. Taylor.
Michael P. Matthew.
Thomas Tabaco.
Michael S. Carroll.
Scott E. Erbach.
John W. Heston.
Richard E. Vitaro.
Daniel C. Hill.
Frank T. Wallace.
James D. Howard. Christopher E. Johnson.
Douglas A. Warner.
Peter F. Cohen.
David M. Buckley.
Eric L. Little.
Molly A. Carroll.
Dwayne H. McDonald.
Russell H. Clark.
Paul J. Leish.
Christopher J. Cohagen.
Thomas P. Murphy.
John W. Craig.
Timothy A. Rogers.
Jason W. Cronin.
Robert S. Rowe.
Jeffrey M. Danielson.
David P. West II.
Daniel P. Forster.
Michael E. Williams.
Alan L. Herman.
From the 22nd Company, Charles R. Baker.
Eric C.
Todd W. Bollinger.
Tina B. Eagle.
Philip S. Bond.
Mark P. Johnson.
Paul G. Buck.
Curtis T. Lee.
David S. Hagan.
Rose M. Hayes.
Donald W. Herndon.
Matthew J. Higgins.
Thomas R. Hubbard. Murray C. Kelly.
Christopher J. Newman.
Jerry D. Menaber.
Camilo O. Quinton.
Ernest W. Martin.
Kenny Long.
William G. McNeely.
Errol E. Brito.
Paul D. Newell.
Stephen D. Sidney.
David M. Orange.
Russell E. Smith.
Gary W. Parker.
Tracy L. Smith.
Robert C. Parker III.
Glenn W. Stevens.
Michael P. Patton.
Douglas J. Coleman.
Stephen J. Peters.
Frederick D. Wojcik.
Christopher G. Webb.
From the 21st Company, John E. Alder.
David A. Renberg.
Jeffrey L. Anderson.
Bradley W. Robertson.
Christopher E. Bolt.
Jocelyn Robinson.
Martin E. Randall.
Charles L. Schilling.
Philip E. Corcoran.
Harry M. Smith.
Eric B. Danner.
Nancy A. Springer.
Christopher T. Bay.
Carlos M. Suarez.
James J. Fisher.
Patrick J. Wade.
Michael A. Bernard.
From the 24th Company, Patrick M. Ahern.
Richard J. Hoffman.
William D. Angeloni.
Scott E. Hunter.
Darian W. Ashley.
Alexander G. Ede.
John M. Baldwin IV.
William E. Mathis.
Harry W. Benson.
William A. McCarthy.
Suzanne M. Brown.
Michael L. Peoples.
Rudy J. Preston.
Christopher S. Powell.
Paul G. Carey.
Mark D. Quick.
Diana L. Farragut.
Robert A. Sizemore.
Stephen F. Giannoni.
Scott E. Slater.
Gabriel E. Gomez.
Michael A. Stewart.
Jeffrey A. Hopper.
Ernest W. Swan.
Sheldon S. Joe.
Jeffrey H. Taylor.
Samuel J. King.
Grover D. Tellez.
Gary C. Kirkland.
Scott A. Tim.
Stephen K. Lott.
Jose L. Trevino II.
Adrian M. Marks.
Thomas M. Truman.
Craig P. Perry.
Joseph E. Vidal.
Stephen L. Ryan.
Jonathan D. Washburn.
James A. Schreiber.
From the 23rd Company, Richard J. Chow.
Timothy D. Slough.
Philip W. Cobb.
Rayon F. Supisi. John L. Spencer.
Randy A. Ferguson.
Janet M. Walter.
Paul G. Gosnell.
David A. Welch.
John S. Hayden.
Charles D. Worth.
Thomas A. Henry.
From the 26th Company, Claire H. Amy.
Seth F. Edmonds III.
Roger C. Augustine.
Patrick J. Hurley.
David C. Bement.
Stephen J. Paddock.
George F. Massini.
Charles M. Kramer.
Theodore L. Brown.
Thomas A. Maxfield Jr.
Michael E. Brown.
Wallace F. Moore.
Thomas P. Brown.
James D. Peters.
Chang K. Chung.
Michael J. Quinn.
James P. Cody.
Michael F. Raddatz.
Todd W. Kramer.
James W. Raymond.
Susan L. Davis.
Brian M. Champlin.
Richard R. Dyke.
Gregory D. Shinnick.
Michael D. Fields.
Stephen M. Smith II.
Thomas M. Harrington.
Joseph T. Van Helden.
Robert T. Keith III.
Edward F. Walker Jr.
David R. Kless.
From the 25th Company, Douglas L. Blackburn.
Robert D. Ricardo.
Arthur A. Blanchard.
Brian P. Maloney.
Enoch J. Lacey.
Margaret E. McKee.
Brad W. Boyd.
Stephen E. Otto.
Anthony J. Bradley.
Ann M. Padilla.
Michael J. Brooks.
John P. Palumche.
John A. Burke.
Daniel J. Snyder.
Michael J. Carroll.
Reuben D. Soto.
Charles L. Daniels II.
Patrick T. Stratton.
Michael G. Dancer.
Thomas A. Tolliver.
Nicholas J. Diorio.
Thomas W. Wagner.
Robert A. Ellis.
From the 28th Company, Sybil B. Bradley.
Francis X. Fitzpatrick.
Gunnar W. Buzzer.
John T. Franchi.
Michael T. Cantwell.
John D. Fulton.
Patrick N. Curtin III.
Ronaldo Gonzalez.
Gil R. Diaz Jr.
Cable S. Comet.
John E. Dryer.
Michael A. Hess.
Dave P. Dutch.
Christopher C. Klein.
Stephen F. Fenstermaker.
Charles D. Marsh.
Anthony F. Fernandez.
Dominic J. Otto.
Patricia
James T. Hagler.
Eric F. Shaw.
Kenneth T. Ham.
Michael C. Clark.
Eric J. Henry.
James E. Sullivan.
Robert A. Hickman.
Randall S. Beach.
Kenneth A. Inglesby.
Michael O. Rooster III.
Stuart M. Littlejohn.
From the 27th Company. Don M. Elmer.
Laura L. Lott.
Charles R. Ambrose.
Vincent D. Macbeth.
Craig R. Cranchfield.
Gregory B. Monk.
Kathleen M. Buckley.
John M. Quest.
James M. Byrne.
Patrick J. Quinn.
Thomas S. Quine.
Daniel K. Shields.
Joseph A. DeLeon.
Jeffrey D. Steck.
James P. Durant.
Mary P. Thompson.
Joseph S. Epperson.
Juan M. Wheat.
Mark E. Furlong.
Timothy F. Whalen.
Jeannie M. Grabowski.
Stephen J. Yoder.
James S. Green.
From the 30th, James A. Bates.
Paul P.
Rodney P. DeWalt.
Stanley P. Josier.
John P. Gasparino.
Eric A.
William C. Grammer.
Lawrence J. Desert.
Jason D. Audubon.
Susan L. Mitchell.
Robert S. Harrington.
Michael A. Norton.
James H. Holbrook.